Well, hello. Just starting up real quick. Hope everything is doing right. Jesus. Hope everyone is doing alright. Fit check. Okay, let me just get this right. There we go. What a day was yesterday. Let's go small. There we go. Let's dive into Bitcoin real quick. Let's zoom out on the 3 days again. We are still, like, the reason why I am kind of bearish here. We are having an uptrend since October 23, where we created higher lows and higher highs. It looks like a small mess here, that's okay. And we created this new higher high in here. The momentum of this higher high compared to all of the other ones. So if we check 150%, 90%, and then we had a push from 33%. So the momentum of it is reducing by a ton. Okay. In order for us to continue this push up, and then I'm saying, like, you know, we can go towards 150, perhaps even 180. However, for that we kinda have to get a back test. What did I remove? That's fine. Okay. For that we need a test again on the bottom. So what I wish to see is for price to go down about 85k, maybe even, you know, that 94 will be okay. That will be coming over here somewhere. However, we had this uptrend from the daily, which started in April. And the uptrend was doing alright. We even created that new all-time high. We broke out of this pattern, like we broke out of the trend line. And for me to see, like, I was waiting for it to get a retest. And starting from here, where we created this daily gap. And I will finish it now for you guys because it has been closed. This daily gap was open for quite some time. Let's say Tuesday 27th of May, about 2 to 3 weeks from now, where eventually we closed it on the hourly. So there was a gap on the hourly as well, where we closed it on. And now I wish to see a retracement down. And this could go both ways because on the bigger picture, we had this breakout from the trend line. We had that retest, and now I want to see a continuation down. For this, we need to create a lower low in order for us to create that downtrend further down. Okay. We didn't create a higher high. Yes, we did on this one over here. However, if this would have pushed through and created new all-time high in here, and we closed above the new all-time high, then we could have a retest over here and a continuation up. However, I'm still open for any on these suggestions or any of these thoughts because going down from here, where we broke out, we had a new trend line created, which broke out. So we broke out. A retest could be happening on this neckline here for continuation up. So 105, 550 is a very important price to keep our eyes on. Let's remove this real quick. So I was saying that we have to get our confirmation to go short, which we have gotten. Let me just remove this real quick. And move this one there. So we had our confirmation. Okay, from here we filled the 1 hour gap, maybe even the 15 a bit better. And we have tested it 3 times so far. During this, if I dive into the 15, so it's a bit more clear, we created this new trend line yesterday. Which broke. We had a retest on this level and then had continuation down. Okay. So this was the perfect short moment yesterday at 4 o'clock my time. So depending on where you live, of course. But yeah, we had that confirmation on going short, and I am closing down 75% over here. Basically because we have these 2 possibilities now, yeah? So we either have this breakout from the trend, retest over here for continuation up, or we are going to follow the big trend out, the big trend line breakout over here, retest, continuation down. And this is why I am taking off 75% over here, because this is a crucial price level, and I'm still open to continuation down. And once this is hit, I will just move my stop loss over there somewhere. Because really, if we zoom out, we could have a very big potential of going towards here and maybe even here. By doing this, where we are right now as well, is we created this double top pattern, which can serve like this. Let me give it a better color, like black. I don't like black. Blue? Yeah. Okay, so this is a very big possibility for Bitcoin in general, where we created the top, the second top. Maybe if you, I don't use it that much, but MACD. What are we seeing on MACD here? Got a top. So there's not even a big top over here either. Interesting. So I was trying to see if there would have been some sort of a bearish or bullish divergent. Let's try the RSI. Okay, so this is interesting. So we have this upward trend and a downward trend here, you see? And if I'm not mistaken, this is a bearish divergent. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not used to these things. However, all of these things add up. So let's remove this. So we created the lower low in here. Hold on. We created this high and then a lower high. And in the meanwhile, we had this low and the lower low. So we had our indication, confirmation. Now price has to go down and continue down. If it doesn't, I'll be happy to take the long from here for continuation up, new all-time high. Okay. And for those that are new, I do these live streams weekly now, where I see where gaps are laying, which want to be filled. And with a gap, I mean a big impulse down. In Dutch, we call it a oksel, where we had a big impulse down, and it created this gap. And this gap, like 90%, wants to be filled again. Over here, it tried it, but it failed. And eventually, it did fill. And over here, we had another one where it did fill. Okay. And these gaps tend to work out perfectly, where whenever a price is breaking, for example, a trend line, we had this gap over here, which got filled when we broke out of this trend line. And 9 out of the 10 times, whenever the trend line is being broken, a gap is being filled. Probably the first or the second one sometimes. Okay, and then it will retest towards the trend, I mean the gap that it created when it broke out, for continuation down. So I'm very bearish on this, because I do wish to see Bitcoin go down to 94 or 85. That's what I'm looking for. Oh yeah, it's 75% there. Okay. And if we dive into the hourly, I will just dive into the gaps that I just spoke about. We had 2 hourlies in here. So we had this one, which didn't got filled. And we had this one, which did perfectly, like even 3 times before it went down. Okay. This was the daily, the green one. But if we dive deeper in, let's say, 50 minutes, then, well, this line is pretty close to it in general. Let's see if the 15 did any. So the 15 over here was also hit 3 times. And if you add these up, so you zoom in from the 1 day to the 1 hour to 15, maybe even, maybe even the 3 minutes here, where we have either this one, which didn't got filled, and this one, where you see that they both got filled, even the 3 minute here. So this was the 3 minute here. Oh, that was the wrong one. Yeah, so even the 3 minute here, which got filled very nicely. And if you took the short from there at 110,600, you would have not complained. Yes, it retested 4 times so far, or 3 times if you were in this short here, but it didn't broke out from there. Okay, so zoomed in and zoomed out. I wish Bitcoin to dump hard, but I'm okay for it to find this balance here and a bounce to a new all-time high. There's always 2 possibilities, yeah? It either goes or doesn't. But like I said, 9 out of the 10 times, gaps will be filled like this. Now I want to zoom into Ethereum, because I was bearish on Ethereum. I wanted. So on Ethereum, we had the same situation, okay, but differently. Bitcoin broke out from the had an uptrend which broke down. Hold on, let me confirm that real quick with you. So 3 days, yeah. So Bitcoin has been consolidating and creating upper trends, while Ethereum was moving down. And I shared this analysis on end of April, where we had this potential to close this gap, continuation to that one, and maybe even, you know, that one, and that one. What happened? The first one got closed yesterday. Perfect hit. But it already got hit before with a wick. So I was bullish and bearish on this because we were having this area in here, this range where will we go, will we don't? And right now I said a couple days back, when I think the last stream, we wanted to either see this gained and closed above to go long, and if we would lose in here, we would have gone short. I went short. And I had to close my trade because it was starting to pump up the upwards, you know. So what we want to see from Ethereum now, so we had this break out of the range, we had a close above, perfectly into a level and above the 1 day gap. Let's dive a bit deeper into the 1 hour, okay, shall we? So going further down, we have a 1 hour gap in here. Okay, let's call it 1 hour gap. We're gonna zoom in even further, 50-minute. I have to go back all the way here. Okay, 50-minute, just a bit above the level here. And you see, this got hit over there. But this one also. So back in those days, when price was still having this downtrend, you know, very zoomed out, you had this 50-minute gap, which you could have taken with a limit order, where price would have been dumping and you could have made a lot of money there. Okay. However, so let's call this the 50-minute gap, and let's see where price went. Okay. Okay. Perfectly filled. We even had a close above. Yeah, we did had a good close above, which means that bearish we are with Ethereum. Like I do still want to see this being retested before we go. But if we are going now, give it a retest and I'll go long on it. However, right now we need to wait for confirmation. Because are we going to get back in the range? Or are we going to find the right balance, the right bounce for continuation up? For now, that's still the question. We did close with a wick, but on the daily we haven't really. However, we did, if I remember correctly, had a SFP here. And to my understanding is a SFP means that it has this high and it grabbed that high with like a liquidity sweep, okay? Where shorting from here, after it grabbed that liquidity, would have been your entry. Now, I don't trade like this. However, that it's possible to trade like that. Okay, So for Ethereum, we're just gonna have to wait and see, okay, are we going to get that balance and that bounce upwards for us to continue up? And if we are going to continue up, the next gap will be open at 3,240, and after that we have 3,620. Let me correct that. Okay. And obviously you have the 4K after that. Blah 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 blah. But very zoomed out. We are still doing okay. Okay. For Ethereum, just hold and see. If you are long from over here, where I gave out the TA earlier, congrats to you. Okay. I want to dive into a couple altcoins now. We have our eyes on these for quite some while. Where first I wanted to create that inverse head and shoulder pattern here, which it didn't. So it created this kind of double bottom-ish, where we push through, head towards the level, and then right now we want to see this retest, because before we go, like, we had this trend line being touched. We had this trend line being touched in here. Give us a small retest to that gap that we created when we launched off before we can continue up. And doing this, so we created this higher high here. Let's create that higher low and then push up. And zoomed in on near, we had this trend line being broken yesterday, where I was waiting for the short basically. So we broke, and I wanted that retest on the level here, because it was also a 1 hour gap. However, sadly we broke through into a new level. Yep. So this is a level here. So we broke towards that new level, and then we had that bounce back. Sadly, I got stopped out. Otherwise, I would have been still in the trade. But if I would still be in the trade, I would take off 80% here. And why 80%? Because there's always chance for price to continue down towards the next one first. Okay. However, most of the times, whenever a trend line like this being broken, it will end up at the bottom of that trend, where this is a daily gap. So most likely price will bounce from here for continuation up. Okay. Zoomed out even more on the daily. Yeah, so we had this high and lower high, where eventually we created this low and the lower low. We now created that higher low. So for us to break out of this trend, we need to push from probably first to here, retest again, and then continuation up. But if we do, and we are going to battle this price here, in order for this to continue, like, we had this change of character here where we created this new higher low, we need to see a higher high. And if we do, we have our indication, that's the higher low, and the confirmation of the higher high to switch from trend. So over here we were in the downtrend. Well, let's keep it like over here we were in the downtrend. But if we close above, we have the indication, confirmation, so then the retest and continuation up. Okay. And then we're gonna focus on 4.6. Okay. So this coin has potential for long term, definitely. But we need to see that retest first, and then we need the confirmation. Okay, are we going too long? Are we seeing the reversal confirmations, like to confirm the long entry? I have my alarm set. I'll just move it down a bit more. Okay, then we are looking at Ripple, where Ripple went to the sky and I closed it over here. Yep. I mean, it's still profit. But we had our long entry. Oh, sorry. We had our long entry from over here. Yeah, this is where we had our entry. And yeah, the first gap got closed. So this gap got closed. And from there, we broke out of this trend. We closed this gap. So right now we need to see a retest happening before we can continue going up again. So a retest is being done from the last 3 days so far. Let's give this, we need that retest on this gap to continuation up. However, we being on a level now as well, this could also be valid, because if you look at it this way, sorry, we have this double bottom where it created this neckline where we are at right now. So the possibility for a Ripple for now is to retest from here. This is possible, but I do wish to get the black retest. So I want price to go here before we can continuation up. Zoomed out on Ethereum. We were in a downtrend. So we created lower highs, lower lows, lower lows, lower lows. Now we created this first higher high. Okay, so we created a higher high above this and even above this, which we didn't have on Bitcoin, but I just mentioned. Now that we created this bottom here, we created our higher low. So we have the indication, hey, we created that new higher high, and we have the confirmation, we got that new higher low as well. This being said, we created this new trend line down. We broke out of it again, give us a retest, and then we're gonna push towards a new higher high, which will be most likely either at, I wanted to push through and either come towards here where we created this higher high from here, or we push even further where we create this higher high from here. Okay, so these two possibilities are there. However, we do need to push through and gain this gap. Okay, so the possibilities for this, if you are waiting for the retest like I am at the moment, I would want to see something like this, stop loss below the low, and for continuation up. Okay, so alert is set, give us the retest, baby. Then we have Gala. I think I can switch jobs and go towards market makers. So Gala had this this push up as well. We wanted to see a inverse head and shoulder from Gala. So we pushed true. Now we want to retest either on this level for continuation up. This being like this will form a inverse head and shoulders for price to continue up and break out of this trend line. Okay, where again you have this indication because we didn't close below here. Okay, so an indication that we are still having this higher low now. And now over here as well, we created this higher high based on this one, where we could see price to push through that trend line now. Okay. Zoom it out even further. Same situation like Ripple, still in a downtrend until now. We created higher low. Okay, and I get it, most coins look alike. So I'm going over this quicker than normally. Here, same situation, low, higher low. ADA I don't like that much because it played a lot with wicks here. But it broke through. I went short on it. In fact, I wanted to go short. I gave this away to someone. Where if it break down here, take the short or wait for a retest, which didn't happen. And then take the short somewhere to over here where we have the daily gap. Yep, we have the daily gap, and let it be filled with a wick, just like here, okay? And this could mean that eventually it's a possibility for a long setup to break out, and if not, so if we will not bounce from here, we have this gap which might retest again. Let's say might, because then we create that double bottom effect. So wait for confirmation before you enter a trade, and do your own research first as well. But I don't think, like, I'm pretty sure all of you know that already. Okay. Sui. A perfect. No, we didn't. We didn't hit that gap. Okay. We didn't hit the gap, neither the level here, but we did create this. Yeah, we did create this higher high based on this here, which I think you can still call this a gap, which closed, but these levels were a bit more in place for now. However, we had this trend line, we have this beautiful inverse head and shoulder pattern. Right now we are at the level of the neckline. So that is, oh ships. So that is good. For now, I wish to see a retest happening. So either over here where we hit the daily, or just a bit above where we have this hourly. Okay, that's what we need in order for this price to continue down. I mean, sorry, for price to continue up, because we broke out of the trend line on the daily. Retest happening, continuation up. It's pretty based forward, you know. All right, give us the close there. Just in between, I want to say that we have, oh no, we have a new action right now where whenever you register to the link in the description, you have a possibility of winning 2,400 USDT when depositing and trading volume on BitUnix. Okay, this is still July the 11th, and more of these campaigns will be happening in the future perhaps, but for right now, use the link in the description. I also said it. Claim your bonus by signing up to $2,400 in rewards. Press the link from BitUnix partner and make sure to get your rewards for free. And this could be any trader. Like, you don't have to be new. If you're a trader, this is interesting for you as well, because trading with volume is something everyone can do. Okay, so for example, if I'm trading let's say with 1000 USDT, I go times 10, I am using 10,000, yeah, 10 or 100,000 volume, and do that a couple times per day, you will get your rewards eventually, and you can claim them as always. So saying one more time, claim your bonus by signing up down below. If you have questions on these, let me know. You can also contact me on Discord, where I'll be happy to help you with it. Okay? For Sui, we know the outcome, we know what needs to be done. We have the alert set. Okie dokie. One more coin. Yeah, so all of the coins are red except two of them. ZBCN, where I gave CBCN away yesterday. So we had this downtrend where we created these lower lows all the time, and we had this gap in here and this one here as well on the hourly, and maybe even this one on the hourly. Okay, so this bottom one didn't got filled, so let's keep that open. In fact, yeah, it didn't got filled directly. That's interesting. Okay, cool. However, we did got it filled, and I was waiting for confirmation on on this coin. So we had this going where it pushed through. Then I gave away the long position based on this gap from here. So let's drag that down. You have your entry, and eventually you're in. And yes, it did push a bit down, but then as well you see these two pushing, creating the double bottom kind of effect, you know. So I did give this one away yesterday, where we broke out of the trend. Let's dive into the 1 hour again. We had this first trend line being broken, which touched 4 times, and eventually we broke through, hit that gap, had a retest. In fact, it is still boiling up right now, and it didn't create that higher high that we were talking about, because I wish to see, I wish to have I wish to would have seen price to go over here, touch this point, and then go up, but it didn't. So we need to be careful here. However, we did broke through this trend line, so we could have a retest either on this moment here or the level, which tested 4 times now already again, for continuation up. And then we need to see this trend line being broken, and then you would have had these targets to focus on, where it breaks through, hit, retest, hit, etc, etc. Okay, there we go. So nice trade, 20.5%. based on these first two confirmation thingies here, where it entered with a wick on the hourly. You would have been 4 hours in red until it will push through. We have mask, which someone was interested in earlier. So we had this break on the hourly here as well, where it creates this 1 hour gap. And it's retesting that area right now as we speak. So we had this trend line we broke out of, closed this gap, didn't close above, so we have this lower low, lower high. We are still in this downtrend here. Downtrend, downtrend. Are we going to close above this level? If so, we have our first higher low. And then we could see price move up towards the level again, probably somewhere here, and push through, push up. Okay, this is on the hourly, but as you can see, there's not much data to work from. And if it didn't push through, like if it didn't get steep bounce right now, we are going to see price start reacting from over here. Okay, where we have two 1 hour gaps and 1 day gap. So trade safe on this, wait for confirmation to go long. But taking this long from here would have already given you not much. 2.6%. Let's dive into the 50-minute. Yeah, not convinced. I told that person already before, like, I'm not convinced about this coin because the impulses here were way too strong. I mean, it's good if you're in this long, not gonna lie, but still. Jasmy. Oh yeah, Jasmy I was looking more into. So we have Jasmy in this very zoomed out trend. We broke. Nice, okay. I didn't look into detail like this. So we have this downtrend here, which we broke through, pushed through the level. So we first had a response and a rejection from the level. We tried again, push through, and then we closed this gap. We hit that gap perfectly there. I am not closing it because it filled it with a wick on the daily. So it still has some kind of meaning, especially combined with the other gap, which is over here. So I think this price action will give us a bounce back, some sort of a resistance, you know? Okay, so we were following this uptrend. Let's remove this real quick. So we're following this uptrend here. Higher highs, higher highs, higher highs. And eventually we created the indication where we have this higher high, higher high, higher high. Hey, lower high. Okay. Indication. Price might shift down. That being said, we created a triple top or a head and shoulder, whatever you want to call it. Could have taken the short from there, and eventually we created this lower low based on this one here. Okay. Going down, we created a new trend line. And in fact, I have to correct myself a bit here. Yeah, so we created this new trend line where we created the lower highs, lower lows, lower lows, lower lows. And where are we now? So we had this trend line going, which we broke through. We closed a daily gap. And now we need to see a retest happening. And doing this by closing that daily gap We created this uptrend, which we broke, retest on the daily, shorting from here, 100%, perfect. And where are we focusing on? Okay, we can focus on the 1 hour gap, which is laying right over here. 1 hour gap. And perhaps it even already filled. Almost, so might have just missed it by an inch. However, we did close on the daily. So going back on the daily. Yeah, we have this retest happening right now. Now we need to see it creating that new higher high. Okay. What's this? Okay. So this is very important now. We need to get our confirmation to go long before we take the long. We need to get our confirmation first before we go long. Create that higher high and build up this new trend line like so. Is this correct? Yeah. So we need to create that new trend line now. As of right now as well, we got this nicely double bottom effect. Now we need to see this close above the 1 day gap, so 1.1424, before this is an indication, okay, we might reverse and go up again. So what do I want to see in detail? If we zoom in, something like this, close that gap, retest on the neckline, continuation up. Okay. Trading is waiting. Don't enter the trade too short. I mean too early, because price has the option to stumble down a bit further. But Jasmy wise, it has the potential on still closing this daily, because we had this trend breakout, retest on the daily, maybe even this one before we can continue. However, if this is strong enough, where it creates this lots of volume here, if that is enough to break and hold for continuation, 100% perfect. And then you could be looking for breaking out above here, creating that higher high. But we have this gap open here, so get them over there, eventually over here and there. You know the drill. Then we have XNC, sorry, XCN in fact, where these two coins were the only one reversed on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is like, all of the coins are red except these two, okay? And there might be more, don't get me wrong, but I'm interested in these two. Yes, we are in this lower high, higher low. So in black and white, basically, we are forming this pattern here, but this is very big scaled if you look at it this way, you know, something like a symmetrical triangle where it can go both ways. You know, are we going to close this gap or this gap, or are we going to break out and fill these gaps? So for now, let's remove these blue lines. We created higher lows, and we do now as well. Yeah, we still are. I wish to see it from the daily, but there's no much data to work with. So we're going to zoom in. Daily gap. Daily gap. These two next to each other basically means, like, even if it filled with a wick, there's still the, like, there will be some sort of a big resistance here. Okay, just keep that in your mind. Let's zoom into the hourly. I took the short yesterday after we had confirmation, and this is kind of a bit of a breakout trading session. However, if we zoomed in, we could have even shorted from here already. But I can't split my eyes on 20 coins at once. Even while I'm at work, I try to do my best, but I can't always, you know. However, what did we do? Let's remove this. We created a, like we were compressing the price into a bull flag, bear flag, I don't know what you want to call it. I call it the symmetrical triangle. Basically because it has the potential of going both ways. Which it did now, okay? So normal people, like other people would say, price comes from the bottom, creates that compression. This is a bear, a bull flag where price will do this. Well, I'm telling you, it's not. Because it has the potential on going both ways. Price broke out, had that retest on the gap in here, on the hourly. But even if you zoom in on the 50-minute, hey, perfect wick entry. So if we took the trade from there to where we closed it now. So I closed it in here, 5% profit. You could have pushed it down towards that 15-minute gap, which have given you 5.8. Okay. Right now we had a 3.7% profits because I did saw this too late and I entered it somewhere last night. So I did saw it a bit too late, but when I saw it creating that retest in here, I entered with a stop loss above here. So yeah, what we want to see from this coin now. So we broke out of this trend here. We broke out, retest happening, and retest happening, and yes, we still have this one open here on the hourly. But we had our confirmation here. Okay, if we zoom in, we have our confirmation that we were still downtrending here until we created this higher high. We had a retest in here. Price continued to push up now. I have this alarm set, but it is just about to hit it. So I'll just move it a bit up. And same for this. And I'm having my eyes on this closer because whenever Bitcoin is going to push or dump, these coins can respond on it, okay? But zoomed out on this, so we had that trend breakout, okay? Trend breakout, retest. Where are we going to look for? Zoom out a bit more. Okay, what do we have? We have this trend line going, we have this trend line going up. There's a possibility for us to push through that trend line. So push through, retest, push through, further down, and focus on the 1.202, sorry. Okay, so this is a potential coin for me. However, if we don't create this higher high from over here, I might have to close it, because then we are still on the downtrend. So we created the first higher low, perfect indication. Now we need our confirmation, and the confirmation would be to create a higher high over here. Okay, so this is what we want. Something like that. I have to go and close off here. Are there still coins? Yeah, so we missed this one. TRX. But it's also in a uptrend. So TRX, Dave, if you're watching or rewatching TRX, I know this is your coin. Closing over here could mean that we are breaking through. However, it has the potential of continuing up until it breaks this trend line. Unicorn had a response from a level, no gap was filled. Possibly retrace, continuation up. Possible. Not saying it will, because it created this higher high here. and the higher lows. So for Uni, this is what you want to see. Something like that. Gods, I don't trade, but it's breaking through, so don't trade it or short it. Okay, so watching Bitcoin real quick. Yes, we are having some slight response on this closed gap on the hourly. Oh, hourly. So what this could do, this could push Bitcoin up, and then we need to make sure that it's not going to make a higher high here. Okay, in order for this short to work. But if we zoom out on the 4 hour, okay, it didn't close below. But yeah, we still need to see that big retest happening. And if you zoom out even more, it is giving us that big, the big double top effect, creating that lower high and that first lower low. So how nice would it be if, like, there's a lot of liquidity over here now. I know that because people went short, but there's also liquidity over here. So it would be nice for price to do this now. That's just my feeling. I wish to see it create that lower low, and if it doesn't, I will take 75% off from over here at 105.555. Let's correct that. So 105.555. I will take a portion off my short, possibly wait for that confirmation for long before I close my short and go long. Okay, so we need to be careful on that, and we have to watch it. However, it is nice, like people were saying that we would go to all-time high straight away. Of course not, because we broke out of this trend. We had a retest now. I saw this coming earlier, like we were breaking down here where we stopped upon a level, found support, going for the retest. We could either continuation down or head to not support to continuation up. Okay, I'm gonna have to close the stream for now, and I wish to I lost it. I wish to share it one more time with you, that signing up with the link down below can give you 2,400 USDT on rewards by signing up and following the link below. And this is for traders, but also for newcomers. And if you're new, especially if you're new, keep watching these streams because you can learn a bunch. However, we also offer a course to start making your own analysis and trade and become a trader. But the community is starting to fill up more and more, which is very nice to see, and I wish to see more interactions happening. I am also sharing my free TAs on the Discord, where I've been speaking about Bitcoin earlier, where 75% off, wait for confirmation, all of these things. I'm explaining the trades, and it's all for free until the 18th of June. So there's still a week for it to be free, and otherwise we will see confirmations. Otherwise later we will see for the gold members some actions and things. There's much to come. We are working on the community here, but yeah. Here we have one of our traders as well, which is 50 TP, second TP, nicely hit. Perfect. Okay. So feel free to join the links below. Sign up, get your reward. Make sure to drop by on the Discord 100%. It's all for free, and I'm just giving away free coins, free TAs at the moment. And also by watching these streams, you have the same situation, but you know how it goes. Okay. For now, we are testing it again. Come on, Bitcoin, dump it, baby. Dump it. Oh, by the way, for those that wish to see if I'm in the trade, yes or no. I am in the trade. A bit late because I had my first entry a bit early. I have my first entry over here and the second entry over here, so my originally entry is somewhere over here, but it's fine. Stop loss in the green now, and also for XCN, where I'm taking the long. I started it this morning, by the way, which is why it's still slowly boiling up. Okay. Alrighty, I am closing the stream. If you have questions or anything, feel free to jump in the Discord and ask away. Okay. For now, have a good one. And I'll speak with you next week. Probably, let me just confirm. Let me just confirm real quick. Yeah, let's do Monday. Monday evening somewhere. Monday evening or Monday after dinner. Okay? And then we're gonna see how the weekend went for us. Alright, till then, have a good one, trade safe.